Related story on compelled. When I first started dating Jackie, she had this guy, not an ex-boyfriend, just a person who liked her, who like a wannabe boyfriend, I guess. And he would call her, and Jackie and I have been going out for like 3 weeks at this point, and tell these tales in an effort to woo her. His special skill was that he was a crane operator. So he would be like, dude, you can't believe what just happened to me today. Cars flying off the bridges. And they're like, does anyone know how to operate a crane? And I'm like, I'm your guy. Then he would pull the cars out of the water to save innocent victims. And that was like his way of trying to get Jackie to like fall for this hero. It didn't work.
Meanwhile, he's like on like News Channel 7, like saving people. And he's like, what's
Miracle on the Chesapeake tonight. Miracle on the Chesapeake tonight. We've got the hero, the man they call the Angel of New Jersey. Come here, sir.
This happened more than single. And like he would tell tales like this, different, but obviously like threads of them just needing a crane operator hero. This is back in the day of landline. So she'd be talking to him on the phone, and I'd be on another phone, like muted, silently listening to the conversation as she kind of like egged him on, mocked him a little bit. Maybe it wasn't nice. Mean. Yeah. Damn. But
now he's the best crane operator.
He may be. At this point, he should be an expert.
Yeah, I'm sure he lived a long life after that embarrassment.
But
I don't know. It's a pretty cool job, crane operator. If you're good,
is it?
And if you own a crane.
The only time you ever hear about a crane operator is when they fuck up and drop one in New York.
That's how.
Or catch on fire and die.
Yeah, does that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking of the real high-rise ones. There's no escape.
You can't get out of there.
Your egress is.
I'd have a backup.
Way. You have one way out. Yeah, you better base jumper or something.
I mean, at the very least, I'd have like a harness on that I could, maybe a cable that I could rope or something. I can lower myself down 30 feet below the fire or something. At least get away from burning. I don't want to burn alive. That's like my number one fear, I guess. You could say, oh, I don't want to be buried alive. That's worse. It's like, yeah, but when is that going to fucking happen? You can get burned alive out here in traffic right now. Nobody's going to sneak in and bury you alive. Okay. You can actually burn. I'd much rather drown, especially cold water.
Than be buried alive.
Freeze to death. I'm hearing is the move. You're cold for a while, which is uncomfortable, but we've all been really cold. And then you're just tired and you lay down and you ease into peace.
Yeah.
I bet like bullet back of the head unexpected is probably the absolute fastest way to go, right?
I think submarine implosion.
Submarine.
Oh,
okay.
Well played. Okay. Topical.
Yeah, but you have like 2 hours leading up where you're just like,
you're freezing cold. Yeah,
scared to death. It's creaking.
You're like praying for death by the end. What a terrible way to go.
Those sound like not even a good time. Like even if you don't implode, like if you see the insides of those things and you're like freezing cold and they're like, bring an iPod and we're gonna piss in that bucket over there if you need to.
Yeah.
That's the experience.
Don't kick the Mad Catz controller. Oh,
I was just gonna make a Mad Catz joke.
We're gonna
the Afterglow controller.
Blowing it. Try blowing in it.
That was the problem. When they turned it off, they didn't have a memory card in. That's one of the sillier fucking news events of my life. I think I remember the Balloon Boy. That's a real old one. That's probably 15, 17 even years ago or something.
What did he do?
Balloon Boy is when. All right, so my remembrance of Balloon Boy, because I was younger, is that this family told everyone that their son had gotten into some balloon they had and floated off. They thought their son had ballooned himself away. And so this huge search went underway looking for Balloon Boy up in the air. I saw the Balloon Boy. He floated over my dairy farm. He was just a squeak. He was hiding in the attic. He was hiding in the fucking attic the whole time. And it was this big, like, silly, goofy story for
no. He was hiding in a boat under a tarp. Remember?
Now that is the Tsarnaev brother, from the Boston bombing, which is my favorite news event from my life. I was listening to like 3 different police scanner websites simultaneously while they hunted that guy down. That whole night was crazy.
I didn't follow it that close, but I do remember a lot of people online were like, "We got him! We found the bomber!" And it was like just some other long-haired guy who lived in the area.
Oh,
yeah, they got it wrong big time off the start.
I remember. I'm pretty sure I watched, or maybe it's just in my mind's eye from the story, but I've got the visual of him running his brother over because he was in the street and the one like tried to get away and crushed his brother. I think he'd already been shot once, but killed him. And
I
then
remember that video.
He got away in the car, and then he was hiding under that boat tarp in somebody's bass boat. And they've got him surrounded with tanks and thermal imaging. And I still think they shot first.
Speaking of stupid ways to die, I'm scrolling through trying to remember all these ridiculous reality shows you've reviewed. We've talked about 1,000 Ways to Die, like briefly in the past. What were a couple that you could jog our memories with that were even dumber than we remember? That was one of the shows where like I always remember that being decent. I was like, oh, it was just, like an anthology series, like people dying. And then I watched it again, and I'm like, the one that this video got age restricted. And I fought it like 3 times. I fought with Twitter, or the team YouTube on Twitter, about it. And it was one where it was this guy who was a self-proclaimed chubby chaser. They even brought a real guy on for like an interview, and he's like explaining what a chubby chaser is. And he basically just wants to fuck a ginormous woman, and she fucks him and falls asleep, or it's so intense she passes out on top of him, and he can't breathe. And then they of course bring a doctor on to explain how not being able to breathe kills you. That's what all the doctors on Spike TV are. They're like, well, when you can't breathe, you die. And that's every doctor on Spike TV. Deadliest Warrior, 1,000 Ways to Die, Mansers, all of that shit. And so what happens to your body when you can't breathe? And then it does that like aggressive like overlay, and it's like your lungs begin to constrict when the 800-pound gorilla pushes down on you, and then you die. Yeah, you're right. Those doctors probably weren't real.
The Deadliest Warrior ones were the worst, because like they would, like there was one where like it was a phone bomb that they would use, and it blew the guy's head off. And then the doctor walks over and he's like, so what happened here? What? And it's like the guy's head was blown clean off. I got it.
So like, without a head, you really can't go on past this.
It got rid of all the essential parts of the brain, the inside.
The head, believe it or not, is the most important part.
It's the most important kinds. You need them in your head. I remember like just stupid nonsense on that show where it would be like random electrical impulses, where it'd be like what they would do is they'd have like a couple key ways to die that would take up the main storyline, and then they would have like B storylines where it'd be like, meet Jackie Sparks, who was walking down his own driveway when he stepped on a live wire. What happened next is shocking. And it's like, no, it's not.
Literally is.
It's a pun.
And it's like, that was like a normal-ish way to die. You guys just needed 40 seconds. Like that's
they pumped out so many of those episodes. And Ron Perlman was the narrator, which that threw me off. Fucking Hellboy. I don't know if he just needed
going on
the check or what, but
that was pre Hellboy. So
that's
maybe things weren't going well. And that was pre
I don't know if it was like late 2000s.
Oh, maybe. I feel like Hellboy's like a 2007 movie or something.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was like, that's why I was like surprised. I'm like, that Hellboy money isn't enough. You got to go to Spike TV.
I mean, he does a lot of the UFC voiceover work too. It's I think his voice adds a lot to it. Whenever I recognize the guy's voice, I kind of like, oh, they're doing this is a special event. This is real. I like that a lot when they hire a voice actor I know rather than just announcer man.
It's better than Mansers it sounds like the Offspring singer just talking. And it's just the most obnoxious voice you've ever heard in your life.